Alright guys, we're moving on now to our second type of function, and that is quadratic functions. You should probably be familiar with this shape of graph called a parabola. It is the result of a quadratic function. Similar to when we looked at exponential functions, I think the best course of action is for you guys to just write down everything that's on this slide. There are a few key things we need to be looking for when we're looking at parabolas and quadratic functions. We're going to often be asked to look for the vertex, and we're going to call it a minimum turning point in this case because it's the lowest point in the graph. If the parabola went the other way, this would be called a maximum turning point. We talk about the axis of symmetry, the line that goes down through the minimum point. Something else that we need to know is that this number here in front of the x squared basically affects the height of the parabola. So 2x squared might look more like this, and a half x squared might look more like this. And then this last point here, if we add or subtract 1 at the end, it basically just changes where we start from. But it shouldn't affect the shape of the graph, even though my drawing is a different shape to that graph. And this was just what I was saying about minimum versus maximum turning points. You don't necessarily have to copy this down if you already made this note up here. But I will get you to write this down. This is the general form of a quadratic equation where a, b, and c will just be numbers. Sometimes you'll see examples that don't have this term in them, but strictly speaking, in the general form, that x term is there. So again, same thing with exponential functions. Often what you'll be asked to do is draw the function. And again, exactly the same as with exponential functions, we're just going to use a table of values every time. We're not going to try and use any shortcuts. We're just going to pick some values of x. I think this is a good range to start with most of the time, -3 to 3. And just fill out our table of values. Put in -3 here into your calculator and see what you get. Again, in the interest of time, I have already calculated all of these. So I'm just going to fill them in. And now all we've got to do is put these points onto our graph. X equals -3, y equals 10, x equals -2, y equals 5, -1, 2, 0, 1, and so on up the other side. And then we join the points up. Okay, this is something I'll probably say to you in person, but I'm going to say it here in the video now as well, just in case I forget about it. One of the easiest way for you guys that are doing your exam to lose marks in these questions is to not use a ruler when you're drawing up your axis. So everyone that is planning on doing the exam, I'm going to give you some homework during this unit to go out and get yourself a little 6-inch plastic ruler that you can use in your exam. Alright, moving on. One more example. We're going to draw this graph again, and then we're going to go through an example of identifying the features of the graph. They suggest for you values to use in your table. If that's the case, use those values. Don't use the -3 to 3 if something else is suggested for you, because sometimes there are some other numbers that will work better. And again, in the interest of time, I've already calculated these, but what you would do is just put them into your calculator. Don't forget that the -1 goes here and here. Alright, and then we just translate these points down onto our graph. At x equals 1, we're at 0. At x equals 2, we're at -1. Okay, and you'll join the dots up and they'll look something like that. So now we need to identify each of the points. Let's start with the axis of symmetry. That is just the straight vertical line that goes down through the lowest point. Okay, I'm going to do like color matching here. So B is the purple line. The y-intercept, I'm going to identify here with my green pen, is just the point here where the line crosses the y-axis. This point, where x equals 0. The x-intercepts are the points where y equals 0. The points here where the line crosses the x-axis. And the last one, the minimum value, is just the lowest point of the graph, or in this case 2 minus 1. Alright, so you're going to have a bit of practice on a question similar to this. And again, I've asked you to do all the questions, but there's only 5 or 6, so it shouldn't take you that long. Let me know if you need any help. Thanks, guys.